Hey everyone, Jessica Torres here. So, I'm suspended. As of 3 days ago, I'm on unpaid leave pending investigation. And the thing is, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, technically I broke some rules. But what I discovered, it's so much bigger than me breaking protocol. 4 to 7 women are being kept in prison illegally. Women who should be free right now. Women who've done their time, completed their programs, earned their release. And someone very powerful is keeping them locked up. For profit. I found out who. I found out why. And now I'm paying the price. But here's the thing that's keeping me up at night. I have all the evidence. It's sitting in my house right now. And I have to decide what to do with it. Because if I report this, lives change. Careers end. People go to prison. Including possibly me. So let me tell you this story from the beginning. And at the end, I need you to tell me what you would do. Because I genuinely don't know anymore. It started 6 weeks ago with a simple question. I was doing my rounds in C Block, just normal Tuesday afternoon stuff. Checking cells, making sure everyone was where they were supposed to be. I stopped at cell 31. Angela Morrison, 4 to 5 years old, been at Riverside for 8 years. Drug trafficking charge. Angela was sitting on her bunk, staring at a calendar on her wall. She'd been staring at it a lot lately. You okay, Angela? I asked. She looked up at me with these tired, confused eyes. Officer Torres, can I ask you something? About my release date? Sure. What's up? I should have been released 3 years ago. I frowned. What do you mean? Angela pulled out a folder she kept under her mattress. Inside were certificates, program completions, good behavior reports, education credentials. She'd done everything right. Anger management, substance abuse treatment, vocational training, therapy. 8 years of perfect behavior. I qualified for early release 3 years ago, she said quietly. My lawyer filed the paperwork. The parole board approved it, but Warden Thompson keeps delaying the final signature. Every time my lawyer asks, there's a new reason. Processing delays. Additional review needed. Paperwork lost. It's been 3 years, Officer Torres. 3 years of excuses. Something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. Let me look into it. I told her, I'll see what I can find out. I shouldn't have said that. I should have told her to talk to her lawyer and left it alone. But I didn't. And that's how this whole thing started. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Angela. So I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I accessed the inmate database and pulled up her file. She was right. Every single document showed she qualified for release. Parole board approval dated 3 years ago. All conditions met. The only thing missing? Warden Thompson's final signature on the release authorization. Okay, I thought. Maybe it's just Angela. Maybe there's something in her case I don't understand. But I was curious now. So I started looking at other files. Just browsing. Seeing if anyone else had similar situations. What I found made my blood run cold. 4 to 7 inmates. 4 to 7 women whose release had been approved and then delayed indefinitely by Warden Thompson. Some for 2 years. Some for 3. Angela had been waiting the longest at 3 years, but there were others close behind. And here's what made it even weirder. These weren't random inmates. Every single one of them worked in specific prison jobs. Kitchen staff, laundry services, maintenance, cleaning crews, the jobs that keep the prison running. That's when I should have gone to someone. My captain, internal affairs, someone. But I didn't have proof of anything wrong yet, just a pattern. And patterns aren't evidence. So I kept digging. I started paying attention to the work details, watched where inmates went, what they did. And I noticed something strange. 3 times a week, vans would show up at the prison. Private company vans. They'd load up laundry, pick up catering orders, collect cleaned uniforms. Normal prison contractor stuff. Except the inmates doing that work were the same 4 to 7 women whose release had been delayed. I pulled the prison's public contractor records. Riverside Correctional Facility had contracts with 3 private companies. Sterling Laundry Services, Peak Performance Catering, Titan Cleaning Solutions. These companies were supposed to be providing services to the prison, but from what I was seeing, inmates were providing services for these companies. Here's how it's supposed to work. Prisons can run internal work programs where inmates learn job skills. They get paid small amounts, like $1 to $2 per day. It's legal and actually helps with rehabilitation. But what I was seeing looked different. The volume was too high. The coordination was too precise. And those three companies kept showing up like clockwork. I needed to see financial records. And that's where I really crossed the line. Late one night, I stayed after my shift, told the overnight supervisor I needed to catch up on paperwork. Once the admin offices were empty, I went to the fiscal department. I'm not proud of this. I used my supervisor access code to get into files I had no business looking at: budget reports, contractor payments, inmate wage records. And there it was, the whole scheme laid out in spreadsheets. The state pays Riverside Prison $45 per day per inmate for labor program costs. That money is supposed to cover training, supervision, and inmate wages. The inmates themselves get $2 per day. But here's what was actually happening. Those 4 to 7 inmates were being leased out to the 3 private companies. The companies paid the prison $15 per day per inmate, way below minimum wage but way above the $2 the inmates received. The prison kept the difference, plus still collected the full $45 per day from the state. The math was sickening. 4 to 7 inmates, working 6 days a week, at $43 profit per inmate per day. That's over $630,000 per year in illegal profit. And the emails. Oh my God, the emails. Warden Thompson had been corresponding with the CEOs of all 3 companies, planning work schedules, discussing which inmates were best suited for which jobs, and most damning, discussing how to delay releases to maintain workforce stability. One email literally said, "We need Morrison Laundry and Chen Kitchen for at least another 18 months. Recommend continuing administrative delays on release processing." They were treating human beings like equipment, like assets to be retained. I photographed everything, every spreadsheet, every email, every contract. My hands were shaking the whole time. That's when the door opened. Warden Thompson stood in the doorway. "Officer Torres, working late." My heart stopped. I was standing at the fiscal director's computer, my phone in my hand, clearly photographing documents. "Sir, I was just what?" He walked into the room slowly. "Just accessing confidential financial records without authorization, just photographing proprietary information." I couldn't speak. Thompson's face was calm. Too calm. "I've been watching you, Torres. Noticed you spending a lot of time with inmate files lately, asking questions about release dates. I figured you'd end up here eventually." "These women should be free," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "You're keeping them here illegally. For money." "Illegally?" Thompson smiled. "I'm not keeping anyone anywhere. The parole board makes recommendations. I make final determinations based on institutional security needs. It's completely within my authority. For 3 years, you've been determining that 4 to 7 women need to stay for institutional security. Some inmates require extended evaluation periods. They are slave labor." The words came out before I could stop them. "You're selling them to private companies and pocketing the profit." Thompson's smile disappeared. "Be very careful what you accuse me of, Officer Torres. I've been warden of this facility for 12 years. I have relationships with the state corrections board, the governor's office, and half the judges in this county. You're a 3-year correctional officer with a history of bending rules. Who do you think they'll believe?" "I have evidence." "Do you?" He glanced at my phone. "Evidence you obtained through unauthorized access to protected records. That's a felony, Torres. You could go to prison yourself." My blood went cold. "Here's what's going to happen," Thompson continued. "You're going to delete those photos. You're going to forget everything you think you saw. and you're going to go back to doing your actual job. In exchange, I won't press charges for your little breaking and entering adventure tonight. And if I don't, Thompson's eyes went hard. Then I'll have you arrested. You'll lose your job, your career, possibly your freedom. And those 4 to 7 women, they'll still be here. Because without admissible evidence, nothing changes. You'll have destroyed your life for nothing. Someone else will find out eventually. Torres, the state doesn't want to know. These programs make prisons profitable. As long as the inmates are fed and no one's complaining too loudly, nobody cares. You're tilting at windmills. Be smart. Walk away. I should have walked away. I really should have. Instead, I said, no. Thompson stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled out his radio. Security to fiscal office. I need Officer Torres escorted from the building. Effective immediately, she's suspended pending investigation for unauthorized access to confidential records. 2 security guards I'd worked with for 3 years came and walked me out like a criminal. They took my badge, my keys, made me empty my pockets, but they didn't take my phone. They didn't know what was on it. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been sitting at home, looking at those photos on my phone. All the evidence of what Thompson's been doing, the emails, the financial records, everything. My husband Marcus thinks I'm insane. You broke the law to get that evidence, he keeps saying. It won't hold up in court. And if you go public, Thompson will have you arrested. Is this really worth going to prison over? My lawyer says the same thing. The evidence is inadmissible. You accessed it illegally. If you take this to law enforcement, you'll be prosecuted. The best case scenario is you lose your career. Worst case, you do time. Even my own father, who's a retired cop, told me to let it go. You can't save everyone. Media. Sometimes the system is bigger than one person. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. Angela Morrison has been in prison 3 extra years. 3 years away from her daughter. 3 years of her life stolen so Warden Thompson could make money. 4 to 7 women. Some of them have been kept for 2, 3 years past their release dates. That's decades of stolen life. Stolen time with families. Stolen freedom. And if I do nothing, Thompson wins. He keeps making money. Those women stay locked up. And eventually, some other prison officials see how profitable this is and start doing the same thing. But if I report this, I probably go to prison myself. The evidence is illegal. I'll be charged with unauthorized access, possibly theft of confidential information. My career is over either way, but if I report it, I might end up on the other side of these bars. And here's the worst part. There's no guarantee it even works. Thompson has powerful friends. My evidence might not be enough. He could walk away clean while I end up in prison. So that's where I am, sitting on evidence of massive corruption, knowing that using it might destroy my life. Last night, Angela Morrison somehow got a message to me through another inmate's family member. It just said, "Please help us, Officer Torres. You're our only hope." I've been crying ever since I read it. What would you do? Seriously, if you had evidence that could free 4 to 7 innocent people but would probably destroy your own life, what would you do? Would you go to the FBI and risk prison? Would you leak it anonymously online and hope someone investigates? Would you go to the media? Would you just let it go and try to move on with your life? Because I have 48 hours to decide. Thompson gave me until Friday to voluntarily resign in exchange for not pressing charges. If I don't resign, he's having me arrested Monday morning. So I have 2 days to choose, my freedom or theirs. Marcus wants me to resign. Take the deal. Move on. You tried, he says. That's more than most people would do. But is trying enough? When I know that 4 to 7 women will wake up in cells they shouldn't be in, when I know Thompson will keep doing this, maybe bring in more inmates to replace anyone who does get released, I keep thinking about what my mom used to say before she died. If you see something wrong and do nothing, you become part of the wrong. But I also keep thinking about the fact that I could go to prison. Real prison. As a former correctional officer, you know what they do to ex-guards in prison. I'm terrified. I'm genuinely terrified. And I don't know what to do. So I'm asking you, really asking you, tell me in the comments what you would do. Because I need to decide. And I can't think straight anymore. Do I report it and risk everything? Or do I walk away and let Thompson win? Friday is in 2 days. That's my deadline. Whatever I decide, I have to live with it forever. What would you do?